I've done 3 videos attempting this challenge, all ending in failure. From forgetting to heal before spam to Neo, to wanting a more challenging final battle. I have never been able to complete a Deltarune Nuzlocke, but today, I went back to one of my favorite videos in hopes of finally beating this challenge. Rules are on screen right now. The first thing we did was leave it up to random chance if I were to do the easy route or the hard route. We got the hard route. But I've had a lot of practice for this challenge, so it shouldn't be too bad. Thought I was gonna cut to immediately dying, huh? Well, let me tell you this now. Would I really upload a video of losing to the same challenge twice? Okay, maybe I would. With Lancer down, it's time to begin Chapter 1, where I took damage to one of the first enemies. I meant to do that. No more Chris. I don't know what my chat was saying, because this isn't a hardcore Nuzlocke. But who knows, maybe I'll reattempt that someday too. I got Susie on the team, and this is where the run gets quote-unquote difficult. I mean, this game is really easy, unless you're an idiot and forget to heal, but since I was trying to get the pacifist ending, I can't have Susie kill any enemies. And that requires spending a turn to warn them on enemies like the Jigsaws. And if I didn't use my axe properly, I could accidentally have other enemies flee when I didn't warn them. I just ended up forgetting about Susie, since I can usually spare a Darkner before she kills them, and now we're at the Great Board. This would be a Pokemon Nuzlocker's nightmare, because our best party member in terms of damage was stuck in an infinite slumber, and I didn't have any awakenings, flutes, or full heals and restores to wake her up. Not like I cared about doing that to begin with since it was me who put her to sleep. We got to KO with only taking damage twice, and I don't think it's necessary to highlight this or the later fight in any way. If you actually took damage here, or worse, lost someone from this guy, I think I have the right to say you're awful at this game. Anyhow, the forest was a little scary because of this rabbit fight that I can never do properly. I say that, but even though I had to do it twice, I took no damage. I even decided to do something stupid and keep all 3 of them on the first turn. I always like joking about me being bad at this encounter, because in the past, I would always lose half of my health at the minimum. But now everything's different, because I have grown and gotten better at this game. So can I really keep this outdated joke going? I made a random thrash machine before wasting my time getting the original Starwalker, but if that's what the fans want, I shall give. And in return, if you've enjoyed the video so far, then please consider subscribing. I'm trying to reach 10k, and the only way I can achieve that milestone is through your support. Susie and Lancer were as easy as ever, and now we're at the castle, and if I get hit here I'm bad. I guess I'm bad. I think now is probably a good time to mention that I'll be attempting both Jebel and Spam to Neo in this Nuzlocke, and with the access to the unknown location in the castle, let's see if anyone fell against the hardest boss in Chapter 1. If I ended up losing anyone here, then I would not be able to stay true to the pacifist route, because in my rules, I'm not allowed to fight at all, and if I'm not allowed to use Hypnosis or Pacify, then I'd be soft-locked. Susie really doesn't matter too much since I could just peer her out with Chris, but luckily, I didn't need to resort to that, because everyone survived this encounter with almost full health. Now I could say that I barely got hit, but that wouldn't be very honest, because I needed to spend an entire turn healing since we almost lost Susie. The next roadblock was the King, who isn't very much of a roadblock at all, despite me taking damage way more than I usually do. But since all that's required is lasting a certain amount of turns, we can just defend with everyone, or even use Chris's Courage Act. Chapter 1 is over, and here's where things could get a little more difficult, because Chapter 2 is considerably harder than the previous. I remember my first playthrough thinking that the difficulty curve was too much, but I was much worse back then compared to now, and my opinion has certainly changed. Chapter 2 is still more difficult in comparison to Chapter 1, but it's gotten so much easier over time. Well, yeah, because that's what happens when you play a game for this long. Also, why was this section so fast? But anyways, now we're at the first Wire, which gave me no trouble. And honestly, I didn't have much trouble at all for the entire cyber field, up until I got to this part and got softlocked due to an oversight. So, fun fact, the section before the Sweet Cap and Cakes is programmed to only work with the music, but I had removed all music from the game to make this video easier to produce, and I thought that I had put the Cyber Battle prelude back into the game files, but apparently I didn't, which resulted in this. I later realized that this was also the reason this part was so quick in the beginning. Here it's programmed to work with the Cyberfield music, but for some reason it still works without it, and since we were soft locked, I had to restart the game. And since the use of save points are banned in this challenge, I had to redo the entirety of Chapter 2. It wasn't all bad though, because now I can go to Castletown and fuse all of my Amber cards into Silver cards. I wouldn't blame you if you don't know what these do, since I had no clue for the longest time too. Basically, it has the same defensive value as a Glow Wrist, with the added effect that it increases the money I receive by 5%, and that value stacks with multiple cards. So now my entire team has these on, unless I had better gear like the Devil's Tail on Ralsei. Fast forwarding and skipping right past me getting hit by this, we're at the Sweet Cap and Cakes. I usually use a strat that lets me skip their attacks while also still allowing me to use each one S action, but I decided to have a bit of fun, and actually did the fight the way it was intended. Not long after we met Birdly, who didn't stand a chance against us ramming straight into his cart, then we all fell and died. Challenge over. Nah, we landed on some trash that saved us. Building up from the team, I got a new party member in Noelle, and then picked up an item that I always forget is in the game, being the Bounce Blade. It's a weapon for Chris that increases their defense, which is pretty helpful in a run where we're not fighting. The city was a breeze to get through, although this cactus is a pain in the ass, I think its mice were even worse. But on the bright side, look, it's Birdly. The first battle was simple enough, but here he brings in reinforcements, which you could just get rid of by using Sleep Mist the turn after, but I'm here to make this video entertaining, so I ignored them. That decision caused me to spend several turns healing, but we got through with no casualties. Spamton is usually annoying with this attack, but I won taking no damage. I regrouped with my team, and I should probably give them a name, huh? I mean, I technically gave them a name in chapter 1, but I can give them a much better one. But I'll do that shortly, because around this time is where my stream got pretty interesting. There was a YouTuber known as November join my chat. You may know them from these videos. Well, apparently, a lot of my chat were fans of him, and started the November Joy fan club, which I guess is the new name of my community now. So you know what, Chris, Susie, and Ralsei, your new name is the November Joy fan club. We made our way to the mansion with no difficulties, and it was almost time for our second secret boss. But first, let's look at all the money I received with all the silver cards I had. I could buy 3 royal pins, but I also had gear and items to sell like the revivement and useless scarfs, and I managed to buy another one. After making sure everyone was healed, the November Joy fan club went into their most difficult battle yet, Spamton Neo. This fight is pretty challenging for me, and I had to go through almost all of my healing items to win, but thankfully, no one fell, and we could move on to the Queen. But first we have the Wire. Well, technically we have the Task Manager, 10,000 Swatchlings, and a Mouse Wheel first, but they were easy enough since with Task Manager I can just spare in one turn, and I could use the Swatchlings to heal everyone using Ralsei. Wire on the other hand is agile, and I got hit several times before recruiting it. Luckily, I still had some healing items left before the Queen, and speaking of Queen, she was easier than the King. I don't know why I got hit more on the King than the Queen, but that's fine, because there was still one more obstacle in my path, Giga Queen. And this proved to be a formidable boss. Just like with the King, I usually only get hit a couple times, but I got dangerously low and had to use the top cake. And even after doing that, I still got to half health by the end. But it was all good, because Giga Queen is down, which marked the end of chapter 2, meaning that after all this time, I finally beat the Deltarune Nuzlocke. With the first Nuzlocke completed, it only meant one thing. I have to finish the hardcore Nuzlocke, don't I?